everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, everybody on ACIM Gather for joining us. And now, welcome everybody who is watching this video on YouTube. Thank you for watching our YouTube videos, lovingly prepared for us by Reverend Kelly Halleck. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Watch all the videos. If you subscribe to the channel, then you get notified whenever there's a new video. And also you can leave comments, which we always love to read. Thank you. Okay, title of my talk today, Objective Reality. Objective reality. So objective reality is a term, common term in use in the world, and it usually means those things that exist in the external world that can be proved and that exist without the effect of those who are thinking about them. So, like, if there is a tree in your yard, you say that tree is there. It has objective reality. Everybody can see that tree. Everybody will agree that a tree is there. If they're sane, most people will agree that the tree is there. And so that tree has its own reality. It's those things that exist outside of ourselves, those things that exist outside of the person. And very common in the world to talk about objective reality. The word objective itself says not influenced by personal feelings or opinions in considering and representing facts. And then it gives a little example. It says historians try to be objective and impartial. And then the contrasting word, of course, is subjective. So objective, not influenced by personal feelings or opinions. And then the second definition is not dependent on the mind for existence. It's actual. It's a matter of objective fact. So that's how the world uses the term objective reality. And one of the reasons why A Course in Miracles is so challenging is because A Course in Miracles says there's no such thing as objective reality. There is no objective reality. Everything is influenced by the mind. Everything depends on the mind for existence. Nothing is a matter of objective fact. It's all subjective perception and interpretation. Everything is influenced by our personal feelings and positions. And that's a challenging thing for most people to grasp, most Course in Miracles students to handle. And when A Course in Miracles students start really getting that this is what this teaching is saying or teaching, they sometimes try to go to a compromise approach with it and think that maybe it doesn't mean actually that, or it means that kind of symbolically, but if we really dealt with the world that way, how could we even function in the world if we're not treating it like it's actually there? But A Course in Miracles says there is nothing outside you. That is what you must ultimately learn. So it does talk about that as an ultimate learning, and it acknowledges in different places that this is a challenge to move in that direction and to actually embrace that. And I would vouch for the fact that, yeah, it's really challenging. And I got that message when I first started studying A Course in Miracles many years ago. I could see what it was saying, and there was a part of me that wanted that to be true, that resonated with it like it was the truth. Yet, how do you live in the world? How do you function? How do you do the things that you need to do? And I know that sometimes people get themselves in a certain amount of trouble by taking the teaching of no objective world into their lives and thinking that means something in terms of behavior a little too soon, or before they can truly integrate it in some sort of way, or before they're really in tune with the Holy Spirit, which can be guiding us in all of our actions. In truth, that's how you deal when you really get that there's no such thing as the objective world, that it's all subjective. You function in what appears to be the world from a continual state of being led and being guided. And that works just fine. It works perfectly, but it takes a little while to get into that energy and get into that flow. And I still think that's where the Course in Miracles is headed, and it wants us to orient. And I'm glad that A Course in Miracles acknowledges that this is a difficult thing, and that it's an ultimate goal. It's not like the immediate goal. When people first start studying A Course in Miracles, they may get the message that there's no such thing as objective reality, but that doesn't mean they immediately have to change their behavior or their habits or what they do. And usually when they do that, it's because their ego has taken, charge of the path and the goal and the procedure, and they're not really allowing the Holy Spirit to take charge. And they're functioning out of an idea of what it would be like to function with no objective reality, instead of the truth of what it's like to function with no objective reality. Now, as I said, the opposite of objective is subjective. And if you look at the definition of subjective, it's exactly the opposite of the definition of objective. It's based on or influenced by personal feelings, tastes, or opinions. His views are highly subjective. And then it says it's contrasted with objective. And 2, dependent on the mind or on an individual's perception for its existence. So I believe A Course in Miracles is all about subjective reality. Really understanding that everything is influenced by our personal tastes, our opinions, our objectives, everything. However you're listening to me right now and integrating what I'm saying is a subjective experience that you're having. No two people are going to quite agree on what that experience is. There is no objective reality about what I'm saying and what I'm doing. I am doing whatever you're having me do for you right at this minute. Thank you for playing this game with me. I hope it's a good game. I hope you're having fun with it. I don't particularly know what that is because I try to surrender into the process. So I am having my own subjective experience about this talk and this teaching. And I think all A Course in Miracles students are having their own subjective experience about it. And we can talk about that, but I think we get into trouble when we get into the position of thinking that there is an objective way to look at A Course in Miracles. That everybody really, there's certain basic truths. I had this big discussion just last week with a group of people who were meeting to talk about the Course in Miracles book and the publishing of it. And there was this idea that we should come up with a certain list of basic tenets that we could tell people that this course stands for this, and that at least that would give them a foundation. And I stood for the idea that you can't do that. Because first of all, nobody's going to agree, and all of that is just interpretation. And we're here to make the books available and to keep the books being published, not to necessarily be the interpreters of it. Let everybody have their own interpretation. They're all going to have their own interpretation anyway. It's all subjective. Just like the entire world is subjective. There is no such thing as objective reality. And last time I talked about jury duty. And the title of that talk was My Day in Court. And that talk has actually proved to be very popular on YouTube. It's like one of the most popular talks besides the conference talks that I've given. My Day in Court has been a very popular YouTube video. So if you haven't watched it yet, please watch it. But a lot of people have watched it. And I was thinking about jury duty and the whole judicial system, because what it is, it's so obvious that the system is a little off, because what they're trying to decide is what is the objective reality of something that may have happened in the past. What is the truth of what actually happened? And just think, just to try to establish the truth of something that happened in the past, you got 12 jurors, you got a judge, you got a defense attorney, you got a district attorney, you got a court clerk, you got a court officer, you got the defendant. I think I kind of quick just at least 18 people, and then there's a whole bunch of other people. That's just the skeleton. 18 people to spend a week or 2 weeks or a couple of months trying to make some decision about objective reality. I mean, doesn't that just, to me, show that there is no such thing? There's never going to be agreement, because the reason why there's never going to be agreement, because there is no objective reality. It's all subjective. Different people see things and relate it. They relate very different stories about what they think they see. And it isn't that some of them are lying, they just all have seen different things, because it's all about their subjective experience. And I think that if we can just sort of see how this actually trickles into the world that we experience, and identify it and give witness to that, and claim it, then we can move a little bit easier towards that goal of realizing that there really is no objective reality, or as A Course in Miracles says, or as the reading that Reverend Brad read, there is no world. There just is no world. There's no objective reality. There's a lot of great quotes in that passage that Reverend Brad read. I really loved it. I'm going to read a few of them. It says, "There is no world apart from what you wish, and herein lies your ultimate release. Change but your mind on what you want to see, and all the world must change accordingly." So that quotation is near and dear to my heart, because that was the quotation that we based the Las Vegas conference on, change your mind, change the world. Because there is no world out there aside from what we wish, aside from what our personal feelings and opinions are, aside from our objective feelings, our subjective feelings. That's the world we see. And if we can just change those, then the world we see is going to change. And this is obviously very fundamental, I believe, in miracles, because miracles usually, there's some change that we want to see in the world. And there's a lot of people that are interpreting A Course in Miracles as, well, anytime you get involved with the world, wanting the world to change, you're misinterpreting A Course. You know, but they got quotes like this: change but your mind on what you want to see, and all the world must change accordingly. That's talking about changing the world. So again, if you go to that other extreme and define the Course in that other way, then there's just so many passages in the Course itself that don't fit. And then you have to interpret those in some sort of symbolic or metaphoric way, and there's no indication that this is a symbol or a metaphor. It's just a statement. There is no world apart from what you wish. Herein lies your ultimate release. Change but your mind on what you want to see, and all the world must change accordingly. That's just instruction. That's just instruction. You got something going on in your life, in the world, that you don't like, change your mind about it. That will change it, because there is no objective reality. It's all subjective. You change your thoughts, the world is going to change. Also in that passage that Reverend Brad read, there is no world. This is the central thought the Course attempts to teach. Not everyone is ready to accept it. So, not everyone is ready to accept it. But I think we should claim and embrace those moments, at least, when we are. You know, instead of really kind of continually affirming how I can't quite go there yet, or I just really don't believe it yet, just identify those times when you just get a glimpse of, yeah, you know, that's true. Because I think we all have those as well. I know I do. I had them at the conference that we had last February, a couple of months ago. There was just moments in that when I just saw the light break through and things shift and change in ways that I hadn't anticipated, but in ways that I really wholly wanted it to happen. And I just realized that because we at the CMC and I personally have held the vision of what was the truth, that the world shifted and changed for us in a certain way. And we came out of that conference feeling like a different organization than when we went into it. Something fundamentally changed there. But that was because our experience of ourselves, our experience of the world, our experience of that conference was subjective. And we were holding a vision. And even though there was an appearance in the world that was saying something else, we held a different version, and suddenly the world changed. And the world changed for the CMC. And that was great. Now here's another reason why we really should be continually moving in this direction. It says, but healing is the gift of those who are prepared to learn there is no world. Because we want healing. Because it's A Course in Miracles. It's about healing. We want healing. How do we get healing? We got to be prepared to learn there is no objective reality. We got to be prepared to learn that it's all subjective, there is no world, and then we can see that our minds can manifest heal life, heal bodies, heal personal life, heal bodies of others. That we have to move in that direction of no world, no objective reality if we want that healing to take place. Now, there are people who want the healing to take place, but they're not really ready to let go of objective reality. So in their minds, you pray and you center in, and that sends energy to the other, and then that gives the other a certain energy that allows them to shift and change. But it's still really grounded in the idea that I'm here and they're there. And I'm sure that has some effect, but I don't really think that's what A Course in Miracles is teaching. A Course in Miracles is teaching that there isn't any other there is no world, there is no objective reality, and that it's all my thought, and I'm going to change my thought, and I'm going to expect the reflection that is a world to change. And that's what I'm holding. Here's another one. There is no world. Oh, this is the central, I just read this one, but I want to read it on a little further on. This is the central thought the Course attempts to teach. Not everyone is ready to accept it. And each one must go as far as he can let himself be led along the road to truth. He will return and go still further, or perhaps step back a while and then return again. So I really say this is my experience of this. I knew what it was saying when I first opened it, and I went as far as I could at that time. But then these things appeared to happen to me, and then I took a step or two back. And then I took a step or two or three forward, and then I take a step or two back. And it's like that passage in the clarification of terms that, doubt will go and come to go again. I mean, that's been my experience of the path, and that's what it says right here. So if you feel that you can't quite accept that there is no world, that there is no objective reality, you just go as far as you can into that. And if you have to step back, you step back. And then you regroup. But because it is the truth, and because we're Course in Miracles students, we're going to return, we're going to go further. We're just going to keep on this path. We just keep going further and further and further. Now here's a quote, and again I read the first part of this quote, but I'm just going to continue on with it a little further. But healing is the gift of those who are prepared to learn there is no world and can accept the lesson now. And then it says, some see it suddenly on the point of death and rise to teach it. So some people get a glimpse of there is no world as they begin to go through a death process, but then what do they do if they've really gotten that glimpse? They rise. They let go of that death experience, and they rise to teach a larger reality. And all those people who have near-death experience, who almost, quote, die, but then don't, or maybe did clinically die, but then come back, I think that's what that is referring to. So again, it's the overcoming of death. It's that regardless of how far we may think we have gone in that direction, the miracle can still happen. We can still rise above death and heal. Healing is what happens when we really embrace the thought that there is no world, there is no objective reality. And then it has another line. It says, and some will find it in this course and in the exercises that we do today. And I think that's been true for me. I got 37, 8 years in this material, and I've come and gone and had my moments of, being afraid and things happen. But I come back to it and I keep going further, and I am learning from this course that there is no world, there is no objective reality. We're healers, we're miracle workers, that's what we're here, that's what really brings us joy, and we're effective in that to the extent that we can truly embrace this idea that there is no world. And one last quote. Today's idea is true because the world does not exist. And if it is indeed your own imagining, then you can loose it from all the things you ever thought it was by merely changing all the thoughts that gave it those appearances. And then what happens if you do that? It tells you real clearly, and it's not a metaphor. The sick are healed as you let go of all thoughts of sickness. The dead arise when you let thoughts of life replace all thoughts you ever held of death. Okay, so the sick are healed and the dead rise when we shift our minds, not when they shift their minds. It's not about us giving them energy so they can shift their minds. It's about us joining with them in their challenge, but remembering the truth, shifting our minds so that the energy can change. And again, not a metaphor, not a symbol, actual statement of fact, giving us instruction. The sick are healed when you let go all thoughts of sickness. The dead arise when you let thoughts of life replace all thoughts you ever held of death. So, yeah, it's challenging, but being sick and dying is pretty challenging too. So, I'll take this challenge. I'll take that. I like this challenge. This one seems a little more fun to me. I'm willing to go as far as I can, and as and keep with asking Holy Spirit's help, and with mighty companions like all of you with me in this process, and understanding that I'll probably have moments where I slip and get afraid and step back, and it's all okay. And it's all okay because the world is subjective. The world is not objective. It's based on and influenced by all of our personal feelings and opinion. And it is totally dependent on the mind and on the individual's perception. It's a subjective world, not an objective world. And since it's subjective and based on our mind and our thoughts, when we change our mind, we change the world. Thank you, everybody.
Great.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.